Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Today we are getting back to work on our custom carved kind of guitar image thing here. We're going to continue working on it. We're going to use some different tools. We checked out some really cool ones in the last video. If you haven't seen the last one, I recommend you go take a look because I am so bad at this. You probably won't even be able to tell what I'm carving without that context. So last time we used some of these bird carving tools. Scary little things kind of, and I gave you guys a good look at those. Those are available through the Amazon link in the description of this video if you want some. They helped me do this pretty quickly, and we are going to be going back to those, but I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm going to kind of switch around a little bit. I'm going to use a little bit of like sandpaper rotary tools, some really nice carving tools that I got from solomusicgear.com. Affiliate link for that is also in the description, and probably some little carbide bits as well to get a little bit more detail. All in all, we're just trying to make something that doesn't look horrifying while I show you guys how these work. And as I continue to practice at this, I'm going to hopefully start making some guitars that have some custom carving work on them. We'll see how this turns out. Anyway, that's about enough explanation, I think. We're going to jump into it. Again, check out the prior video for the actual explanation. And for now, you guys can just kind of watch how this goes and learn from my mistakes, which is pretty much the whole thing.
Alright, so I've got this sped up to 400%. This certainly isn't a technical carving tutorial or anything like that, and frankly I wouldn't be qualified to give you one of those because I'm not very good at it, but I'll give you some general impressions here. So what I'm using here is just one of those standard kind of rotary sanding tools on my Dremel, or my fake Dremel, which I believe was from Canadian Tire, and it works okay for smoothing things out and rounding over some edges, but it's not, great for actual carving. Now I've got these knives. This is a set from solomusicgear.com. That's where I got it. Again, the affiliate link's in the description. These are made by Hosco, and they're insanely sharp. They're hollow ground on one side, and there's an assortment of them. So a couple that kind of operate better in different directions. There's one that's beveled from both sides. It's great for cutting things, obviously for cutting off the edges after doing some chiseling and whatnot, which you'll see me do a fair bit of here. And then there's one that's like a very low angle chisel with the carving handle on it. I do end up using the chisels quite a bit here because I found as I went through this project that I wanted to get deeper on the sides. So the skull needed to stand out more, and I just really wanted to kind of add some depth to those areas. And it took me a while to figure out that was part of the problem, that I just kept needing to go deeper to really get the effect that I wanted. So I ended up using the chisels here, which are also from Hosco, also available on Solo Music Gear. And these ones are also hollow ground in the back, so they're fantastic, very sharp, they work great. I ended up using these quite a bit because they remove the material more smoothly and more quickly than that rotary tool. So this green bird tool, which is, it's a nice item. It's made by Sabertooth. It does work fast, and it's not as hard to control as one might think. It's still not as fast as using the chisels for the, the larger areas where you want to take out a fair bit of material. But of course, things like I'm doing right now, where I'm tracing my outline and really digging in and then beveling off that edge to start to give the skull some dimensionality, that's where this comes in handy. That's where this really kind of gets the job done the way you want. So it's also good for adding some texture and some detail, and we use a couple tools for that over the course of the carving here, but I did really find that those chisels were invaluable for getting those areas cleared out quicker, getting cleaner edges, getting cleaner bottom surfaces to these hollowed out areas, and doing some of the detail work. I've got chisels all the way down to 1/8 inch in this standard format, and then I've got a couple of micro chisels from Hosco as well, and I use one to clear out some material and add a bit of texture inside one of the eyes a little later in the video. Now, as I said in the last video, I kind of want something where the skull seems like it's connected, like it's pulling out a little bit. I did change my plan a little bit to get a bit more dramatic effect and ended up going deeper, like I said. So I used the big chisel. I've got a fairly wide one there to clear out this area a little more, and then I come back in with the thinner one. And I'm kind of starting to see what I want in terms of shape, but as I go, I just get progressively more comfortable with removing more material so that I get more dimensionality out of the skull and more detail along the sides and stuff, and I'm able to create not so much a flat image of the skull, but more of an actual what you would expect from a carving. I never really quite get there because I don't want to carve all the way through the guitar, and because I'm not all that skilled at it yet, but I make some progress. And you can see here I have again reverted to the blade tools, so I'm using the chisel to kind of chop out sections up to the skull, and then I've got my carving knife there that I use to cut the severed ends there, or to sever the ends rather, to make a clean edge to work with. And then I can just go in and chisel away in the other directions. Again, this is all at 400% speed, so I'm not using a hammer or anything. I'm just using nice sharp tools to go ahead and remove that material just from the pressure I can apply with my thumbs basically in my hands. And I'm trying to kind of give you a first person view in a few places here. I'm making contact with the chisel in as many places as I can, so I've got, both hands on it, at least one, my thumb typically from my second hand to give myself more control, and then the rest of that hand is wrapped around the guitar to give myself more control over where I'm guiding it. I do kind of a interim sanding here, a little sanding and blowing things off to clean it up and get a better sense of where I'm at and what it's going to look like smoothed out, to make some decisions. And then, as you can see, the decision that I made was to keep on going, to go in deeper and take out some more material and try and get an even more dramatic effect. So I'm going to basically halt the voiceover there. You've already got a general concept of what I'm doing. I do make more use of the chisels going forward from here as well, and more use of the various carving tools. I believe the set comes with 6 of them, and I use pretty much all of them here for a combination of smoothing and cutting, and that low angle chisel that comes with it is particularly helpful for working on straight edges and whatnot. So you'll see me keep on with these tools predominantly, and do a little bit more of the work with the burr tool, and then come in with the carbide bit on the Dremel, which is smoother and finer, and will just kind of allow me to get a different kind of texture and smooth out some of the rougher pieces from the burr tool. And finally, I'll finish that up with some sanding and maybe a little bit of razor blade work, but that ends up happening off camera. So I did say a little while ago now that I was done with the voiceover, so I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of the carving, and we will talk in a moment when it's done.
Wow, that was a dusty experience. Word of caution, in case I forget to mention this when I do the voiceover, wear a mask when you do this. That kicks up an insane amount of sawdust. Look how much wood I hollowed out of here. That's up to my, well, anyway. That was a lot. There's still a little bit of smoothing work I think required here. I'm gonna go in and do a little bit more work with the sandpaper, a little bit more work maybe with the extra fine kind of carbide bit on the Dremel, and in particular, a little bit more smoothing work with those knives, the carving knives, to get just a touch more detail. But frankly, I'm pretty pleased with this. Let's give you a closer look here. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick up the depth very well or the detail, but there is some detail there. Maybe I can even get you in closer, particularly like within the eyes and stuff. You'll see that I kind of went out of my way to make those more textured, whereas like this is relatively flat. A little bit more texture in here, for example, just to make it interesting, you know, because hey, why not? Anyway, that's it for the carving for what I'm going to film, because that's been a lot of me filming me carving. And like I said, the last bit is just going to be touch-ups. We are going to do an actual build with this guy. I am pretty happy with how this turned out. I think it's interesting. I think I'm just going to leave it at this in terms of the carving. I'm not going to do anything over here. What I am going to do though, you know, this actually isn't bad. And I would consider leaving it like this and playing it like this. But I got some stuff I really want to try out. So what I think I'm going to do is probably a little bit of leafing work, if I can ever find what I did with my copper leaf. A little bit of leafing work to kind of get the top accented with that. I'm probably going to black out some of the bottom, do a little bit of airbrushing in there to get the deeper areas looking deeper, so that that's more interesting. Could also do a wash, but and then I believe I am going to epoxy fill this. I've got some eco epoxy that I've been dying to work with, dying to try out. I know it's awesome stuff and I can't wait to use it. So that is also on the list, but those will form different tutorials. I'm not sure when exactly they'll come out, but we will do one on the leafing if that happens. We'll do one on accenting 3D shapes, and we'll do one on filling with eco epoxy. And then when all is said and done, I will combine all of those into one playlist if you want to find them all at once. So, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. Remember to subscribe so you can see what happens to this guy, along with, you know, all the other projects that I'm working on. And yeah, as always, thanks. Hope you liked it. Have a good one, and I will see you next time. That was a weird tone of voice to end on, but yeah, we're done here.